Allie Buchman with the Potomac Bead Company, and today I am going to be doing for you my Titanic earrings. These remind me that they should be on a fancy cruise ship, and unfortunately the Titanic went down, but that reminds me of kind of that grandeur of a nice cruise ship. So for the Titanic earrings, I'm going to be teaching you how to do a bezel. So we're going to be doing a bezel with a netting effect. We're not doing the whole bezel around with the peyote. We're doing a nice simple netting. The simple netting is just going to be out of one type of seed beads. We're working with 15-0 seed beads. These are galvanized silver 15-0 seed beads. And it doesn't really matter because the 15 are small, whether or not you're using the Miyuki brand or the Toho brand. I'm going to be teaching this netting on 4 different size crystals. A flat chessboard square, which is a Preciosa, nice kind of glue on flat crystal. This is 12 millimeters. We're going to increase then to a 10 millimeter Potomac crystal Rivoli, which is going to have kind of that nice little disc shape. And then we're going to progress to an 8 millimeter Chaton. And the 8 millimeter Chaton, you can see, has a nice kind of high back. We're going to show that you can do this same sort of netting just with different counts with all different size of the crystals. So for these Titanic earrings, you can change up if you want to use a 14 millimeter bead at the bottom. You can change to do just 2 drops. It's really up to you. You could even just do 1 drop. So you can have fun creating with this design and taking it and using it to whatever size and style you want to create. For this Titanic earring, you are going to need 2 of your bottom crystal, 2 middle, and 2 top. Again, like I said, I'm using that chessboard square, which is the Preciosa brand crystal. You can see that is nice kind of squared off little sections to it. That's a 12 millimeter. You're going to need 2 of those. I have 2 of the Potomac crystals in the Aqua metallic ice in the 10 millimeter. And then in addition to the Rivolis, the Potomac crystal Rivolis, I have the Preciosa Chatons, and these Chatons are in the Tanzanite AB color. And that with the AB, really a lot of the different colors in AB, the Emerald AB, the Aqua AB, all of those will kind of pull in the same colors. So we're going to be working with the square and then the 2 rounds. You can even make this shape more dramatic by changing it and even doing it at a diamond angle. So altogether, you're going to need 6 of your crystals. And again, you can do all the same size. You can do 2, you can do 3, you can just do 1. It's up to you. In addition to that, you'll need your 2 ear wires. And I just have 2 simple fish hooks. And then I have 6 of the jump rings that I'm using to connect all the pieces and the little components together. These are 20 gauge 6 millimeter jump rings, which are really common in the different platings as well as sterling silver. But you want to make sure to use 20 gauge or thinner. I would suggest using 20 because that's about the thickest that we're going to get around our little netting here. For this, again, you're going to be using about 1 gram of seed beads, so you're really not using that many of the 15-0s because the whole sides are not bezeled. We're going to be using a size 12 needle, so when you get ready to start, you're going to take your 12 needle and we're going to add all the thread onto our needle. So each time we do a different component, we have enough thread left that we don't have to re-thread the needle. The thread we're using is Wildfire beading thread, and I'm using 0.006 in the white color. I would suggest that you do the same. Whenever I use crystals, I tend to use the white color because if you do see it, it kind of just bounces off the crystal if you see a little bit of thread exposed. Having handy on my bead mat here is my Thread Zap 2, which is a nice cord cutter or thread burner used to cut the thread off the spool as well as to burn down the edges as we go through and kind of create these little components to add together. I also have a nice bent nose pliers here to flatten out the end after I take the thread burner and burn it down to make it easier to thread the needle. So you're going to want to get about 5 feet of beading thread onto your size 12 needle. And we'll start with the biggest because it's going to be the easiest to see, and we'll work our way up to the smallest. So you can push all the components and everything to the side, get a little pile of your 15s and your chessboard 12 millimeter square component, and we'll get ready to start with our netting. So we're going to begin again with this first component piece, which is going to be the checkerboard. For the component pieces, I'm going to flip over so you can kind of see it a little bit better and doesn't have as much of the glare on it. You can see that flat back of the checkerboard is a little bit different than the Rivoli and different than the Monty as well, or not the Monty, I'm sorry, the Chaton as well. So when you're looking at the checkerboard, the Rivoli, and then the Chaton, it actually increases with the drasticness of kind of the point in the back. What we're doing, it's really not going to matter. That's why I like this netting effect. Each portion is going to start out with a loop. So the loop numbers and the number of seed beads that you need per loop are going to change. You want that number divisible by 4. So if you pick up another, say, 14 millimeter Rivoli that you want to use at the bottom instead, you can play around with the numbers of the original circle. We're going to start with our checkerboard for 32 of our seed beads. So I'm going to pick 32 beads up on my original loop. We're going to decrease the size of the loop and the numbers by 4, by components of 4 as we go ahead and increase. So to start, we are going to go ahead and put on our needle our 32 of our seed beads. So you're going to put those 32 seed beads on, and I don't have right now anything at the bottom, no stop bead or anything, because what we're going to do is tie just a simple loop onto the end of the thread and round out these 32 beads. So I'm going to keep stringing till I get to my 32 beads here and let them all kind of drop down to the base of my thread. So the 32 beads go onto the thread, and we're going to go the whole way down, kind of pulling the thread through to the base of the thread till we have our loop here and just about 1.5 inches to 2 inch thread. We are going to tie this into a knot with a double knot. So we're doing one and then the other. Pulling nice and tight then, you'll get rid of any extra thread that you may see showing. From here, we're going to use that netting technique, and we're going to come out at 4 different points on our circle. For these 4 different points, we're going to be letting 6 seed beads exposed, and then we're going to be using 2 seed beads kind of in the middle of our grouping. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to string through 6 of my seed beads. So I'm going back around kind of in the circle here, and I'm going through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm bringing my needle out. So I'm 6 beads past the knot. From here, I'm going to add 7 beads, new beads, on the needle. Like I said, it's kind of nice because we're only working with one size bead. We're working with these 15s. You can change the counts of the beads that you're picking up, and you can use 11-ohs if you're more comfortable with 11s rather than 15s, but I think 15s are really necessary for the earrings. We're going to be skipping 2 beads, number 7 and number 8, and then we're going to be stringing through another 6 beads and pulling our needle out. Those 7 beads are going to hang out on what I'm calling one of our corners. We're going to repeat this 3 more times, adding 7 beads. So I want you to add 7 more beads to your needle. Skip 2 beads there, and then string through and sew through 6 more beads, and then exit. So right now it almost kind of looks like ears, and you notice I'm pulling a ton of thread through because, like I said, I'm going to be able to do them all. Right now it kind of looks like ears of a cat. There's a whole nother design idea for you. Add 7 more beads. And once you learn this technique, the counts just change. So I have 7 more beads on. I'm skipping 2 beads, and then I'm going to sew through another 6 of my seed beads and out. So there's my 3rd corner there. And you'll notice that I have 2 beads before my knot. That's how you know that you got your count correct, because those are going to be the 2 beads that I put my last grouping of 7 seed beads above. If you change your count for your baseline, it's always nice to have 2 beads in between that little arch. So just kind of a little heads up. Also, like I said, you always want to make it divisible by 4 if you want to do the 4 points if you're using a different size of your crystal. Once you have that done, I have my thread and needle coming out after the first original 6 beads. I'm going to go up that first little corner that I made up to the 4th bead in line. If you notice, we did an odd number, so we did 7 beads on each corner piece. What that's going to do is give us a bead that's going to sit at the top of our V, which is going to be done at the end of each of our components. So I'm coming out of the 4th bead on the first little corner that I did. That leaves 3 beads to the side. In between each bead then, we're going to bring along the front here, and you're going to pick up some more beads. Here in this case, we're doing 6 beads, and we're going to sew from each of our 4th bead through clear to the corner 4th bead of each of our sides. So I'm going to add 6 seed beads. So I was adding 7 for my corner pieces, and now I'm adding 6. And then I'm going to string through to the next corner. So I'm basically increasing kind of and getting that outer edge. You can see it's going to start to pull in between those beads. Again, it's just a repeat. Pick up 6 more seed beads and then go through the next corner bead. Again, 6 more, and I tuck that tail kind of behind and underneath so that way it's not in the way. Six seed beads go on over to the corner. You notice I'm not pulling super tight because I haven't put my crystal in yet. So I'm not going to pull this netting very tight until I stick my crystal in after I do my last set here of 6. So I do my last set of 6, and my thread and needle are going to come around just like we've been going around in a circle through that 4th bead on the initial corner that we came up out of. I pull those in, and before I pull this tight, I'm going to drop my crystal in. The crystal in this case is going to sit like a diamond as we're holding it, and you just give a nice tight pull, and you can see that it fits in there really nicely and very easily on the first try. It takes a couple times figuring out the different counts on how to make it fit nicely, and then once you do, it's nice and easy. I'm going to reinforce this whole center line here by going through all of those corner beads one more time, as well as each row of 6 seed beads that I put on the side. So I'm going through all the 6 and then the corner bead, coming out each of those 4th beads on the corner. And each time I want to give a nice tight pull. Your thread will loosen a little bit as you go around and kind of sew, but like I said, I want to get it nice and tight and pull that nice and tight in there. Once you've gone around the complete circle, we're going to tie off the thread of this at the back near our starter thread. So I'm going through all of these pieces. If you want a more circular look, which we'll be doing on the others, you can skip the corner bead and just sew around and pick up all the 6. That's your choice there. Here I'm going to sew through that corner bead, and as I'm coming out one of the corner beads, which is now going to be actually one of the side beads for the way that we're stringing it, I'm pulling the thread through. I'm coming out one of those corners, giving a nice tight pull. We're going to get our thread to the back. I'm going to go down the 3 seed beads, which would kind of be beads number 5, 6, and 7, if I was kind of counting in my line. And then what we're going to do is string along the back till I get to my stop bead. So I'm going to follow the thread line here and just string around all of the beads until I get to my starter thread. The cool thing with this is then it's really simple to come on out and just tie a knot. That's all you have to do. If you have a little bit of trouble getting the needle through, you can grab those bent nose pliers that you have sitting handy and kind of pull on the needle as you pull through. Then I'm coming out right next to the knot. And from here then, I just grab those 2 thread ends and I simply tie a double knot. Right over left, switch hands, and then left over right. You want to make sure that that knot stays small and that you pull it towards the back of the project, so that way when you do get to a point of having it, you're not actually going to see the thread exposed. You want to tie those 2 threads, and then the very final step we'll do is just burn down the edge of the threads, and we'll get ready to start on our next component. To burn down the edge of the threads, I have it here in my hand. Heat up your thread burner, burn through, leaving just about 1/8 of an inch of tail right there on the end. And then you're going to take your thread burner, heat it up, and burn down those edges towards the back of the project. From here, we're going to get ready then, sitting this component to the side, to start our next, which is going to be our Rivoli. So with the Rivoli, our original count here was, or with the chessboard rather, the original count was 32 beads. From here, I'm going to decrease to 24 beads, and that's what's going to be my kind of center row there. So we're going to hold our thread and needle, same one because we used extra thread, and I'm going to pick up 24 of my seed beads. The process is then going to be the exact same, where we're going to leave 2 seed beads exposed behind our grouping of our corners. The only thing that's going to change are the counts for those beads. So each one, as we do and we continue, you'll notice even when we get to the chaton that the actual technique is the exact same. So I'll just be going over basically how many beads we're going to start with and how many beads we're going to come up the sides with. So we're going to start this one here with 24 beads, and then we're going to come up the sides the exact same with our 7 beads. Because we have 2 seed beads exposed, we're going to only sew through 4 beads as opposed to the 6 that we sewed through when we did the original back section. So go ahead and add your 24 beads on, and then we'll tie a loop and we'll go over exactly how to do the cornered sections again. So I've got my loop here of my 24 beads, and what I'm going to be doing is, as I center this we are going to be sewing through 4 seed beads and then adding 7 for our corners. So just like we did with our chessboard here, we are doing 4 corners as well. Now obviously this can change and the pattern can change. It doesn't need to always be this, so kind of play around. But for this simplicity of this actual project, we're doing the same, that we're doing 4 pieces or 4 corners to each bead. So I'm going through 4 seed beads right after the knot, changing from our 6 from our original chessboard to 4 for the Potomac Rivoli. From there, we're going to pick up our 7 seed beads that are going to be our corners. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to do this 4 times, skipping 2 beads and then sewing through 4 beads. After you come out the 4 beads, add 7 more seed beads, and then skip 2 beads and sew through 4. I'm going to be doing that around here. We're going to complete 4 times, and then after our 4th time, we will come back and I'll show you guys what the count is at the top as we go through and do the exact same technique that we had done before. So now that I have my grouping completed, and again we have our groups of 2 underneath and then sewed through 4, I went through and I actually sewed up through the original 3, coming out the 4th bead, and then we're going to go around the sides here. Just like we did with the checkerboard, we're going to connect all those 4 corners. So every 4th bead in our little corner section here, we're going to connect them in this nutting fashion. Instead of using 6 beads, we're going to use 5. So we're going to go in and you're going to add 5 seed beads. So that's the count change, is 5, and go into the next corner bead and pick it up. Just like I said with the actual seed beads here, or for the checkerboard, and just like that for this one, I'm going to go through and not exactly put my bead in and not pull tight as I go around and add these 5 beads in place. What I'll do is, before I tighten it up and get ready to actually kind of secure it, I'll throw the Rivoli in so that way it's nice and in there tight. And go around here picking up your 5 beads and sewing through your corner bead. 5 more go on. And this same technique can be used with cabochons, with bigger items, kind of anything, which is great. Again, going back to that first corner, if you happen to have your stop bead or your starter thread at the top right away before you pull tight, get that out of the way and pull it towards the bottom. Again, before pulling tight and getting that nice and tight, I'm going to drop the Rivoli in and pull nice and tight. From here, I'm going to sew around just like we did before through those beads again. This time though, to get a more rounded look rather than the cubed look of the chessboard, I'm going to skip the corner beads and just sew through the 5 seed beads that I added. This is going to pull those 5 seed beads in a little bit closer, make it a little bit tighter, and as they pull closer, it'll hide the thread that skips over that corner bead. So you can see a little bit of that thread right now. As you pull tight, that thread kind of disappears. You could have done this with the actual checkerboard piece as well too, when I mentioned that you can skip that corner bead. We're going to skip the corner bead here with the Rivoli. So we're going around to all of those groupings of 5 and giving a nice tight pull to pull those beads in. That'll also pull the X's and make those kind of more exaggerated on the sides. From here, just like we did on the previous one, we're going to sew down them into one of the corner beads. Sew down through our 3 beads along the sides, so that would be beads 5, 6, and 7 on one of the corners. And then take my beads around the base circle here, all the way till I get to my starter thread. So it's nice and simple. Going through then, you're going to sew through the entire back and tie off. I'm going to continue doing this off screen since I already showed you how to do it on the first one. And then once I have this done, we're going to get ready with our count for our chaton. So it's going to be the exact same technique, but instead of doing a checkerboard square or our Rivoli, we're going to pick up our Tanzanite AB chaton and get that bezeled in. So starting our chaton circle here, I started with my count of 20 beads and tied them into a knot. The 20 bead then is going to be the count for the chaton to sit right in inside. And this is going to be an SS20 of the chatons. So I have my 32 count, my 24 count, and then my 20 count for my base circle. Instead of doing 7 seed beads, which I did on the side here, the chaton is small, so I'm going to switch to 5 seed beads for my corner peaks. Likewise, I'm going to switch from doing my 2 seed beads in the middle to just 1 seed bead. So I'm going to string through 4 seed beads on the sides here, right after the knot. We're going to pick up 4 of my seed beads and sew through those. And then after sewing through the 4 seed beads, my needle is going to come out and I'm going to add 5 seed beads and then skip 1 seed bead, so skip the 5th seed bead, and then go through 4 more. And that puts that corner piece on. Again, 5 seed beads go on. Skip a bead and go through 4. As I continue going around in the circle then, I'm going to continue adding in those 5 seed beads, which are just going to make for a slightly smaller rise, basically, on the sides. 5 go on, I skip 1, sew through 4, and come on out. You should have 1 bead then before your knot, and that 1 bead is what you're going to skip over after you add your final 5 seed beads for your corner. So this time, instead of going through and coming out the 4th seed bead, I'm going to come out the third seed bead. So you always want to do an odd count on the corner, depending on kind of what kind of netting you're doing, if you're going in and doing your own size bead. So I'm coming out the corner here, and just like we did before, we have our beads. Again, I have 5 on the corners instead of 7, and we're going to get ready to put our chaton in. To put the chaton in, we are going to be using 4 seed beads to kind of sit in there. So you're going to put 4 beads. So we went from 6, 5, and now we're going down to 4 in the middle between each of our corner pieces. So our 4 seed beads go on, and then you're going to catch the third seed bead as we go around in each circle. From here, after catching our 4 seed beads and catching our third bead, we're going to do the exact same thing, making sure our starter tail is towards the bottom. And then go ahead in and tighten it up. So I'm just sewing around here, making sure to add in those 4 seed beads and coming out the corner. Before I pull tight, make sure that that starter thread is down towards the bottom and get that out of the way. Next, set your chaton into that little loop and give a nice tight pull, pulling up on all your corners. From here, I'm going to go through and sew through my 4 beads as well as my corner bead, pulling that chaton closer in. As I finish up then with this little chaton loop, I'm going to flip to the back and tie off the thread. If you wanted to, you could also do these on a post earring, still doing the dangles between. What you would basically do is either glue on to the back of the chaton, but because it has a nice high rise, you want to do a little bit of a peyote stitch along the back edge there, and you can actually trap your bead in. If you want to check out another video that would show you how to do that, you can check out the princess studs, and those earrings will show you exactly how to use the chatons with that bead. It's a little bit different than this one here, but pretty much the same idea. And that'll show you how, if you would want to do these earrings, but have a post, how to get that post back in. From here, I'm going to flip over to the back, tie off the thread, and then we'll get ready to add all of our components together. It's now time to do the simple task of actually adding the little components together. You'll have enough thread and needle or you should have enough thread rather on your needle in order to do your whole second set here with that 5 feet of your thread. So what we're going to be doing is adding the components together with our jump rings. I have my needle nose pliers here. You can do 2 pairs if you want. And what you're going to be doing is actually grabbing on to those side pieces here, right there in the V section, with your jump rings. So you can start at the top if you want, kind of open up that 20 gauge jump ring. And I want to go into a section that's not right on the actual knot. So you can see the knots kind of to the side of all of these rather than going through, which may expose the knot or pull it forward a little bit. So I'm going into my component piece, and you're just going to kind of pull at it a little bit and push those jump rings behind so that they're coming out right along that back section. I'm going to close up the jump ring then and have that be my first component piece. Next, we're going to add the 2 pieces together with another jump ring, adding and going over those. So if you want to, you can start out here by opening that up a little bit, turning that jump ring to the side, and then wiggling that jump ring between the components. So there it came out in the middle. You want to kind of push it back down. You can pull it towards the front if you want, and then push it towards the back. Here you're then going to need to go in and grab your first piece, going in towards the front, kind of wiggling it so that it's straight across from the original jump ring. From there, we're just going to go in then and add the bottom piece on with our jump rings, making sure that your jump rings are nice and tightly closed too as you come out of your piece. After you have the jump rings on and closed up, your Titanic earrings, which are of grandeur, will be completed. So I'm going to go in and kind of loop on the last one here. Same thing here, kind of bring it towards the front and then loop it on and your earrings will be nice and complete. Last thing you need to do is just open up your ear wire, turning just like the jump rings to the side so you don't get that loop bent out of shape. Add it on and close it up. Again, this video is really a techniques video. It's, yes, showing this project of how to do these Titanic earrings, but it really is more a defining netting and showing you how to use a simple netting bezel in order to create these earrings, just doing a simple change on the count, but using the exact same technique. So hopefully this really springboards your idea that you can actually change it. I was going to show doing a bigger one as a center necklace piece. I had a bigger one here kind of in mind, and then as I was doing it, I really liked it as a set of earrings, so going with that. So you can really change up what you're doing with this technique as well. So it can be necklace, can be earrings, can be bracelet, and have fun kind of creating with those ideas in mind. Again, if you need any of the materials to do these Titanic earrings, you can go back to the beginning of the video where I kind of listed them off and how much you'll be using. You can also go below the video. There's a little date stamp that says when the video was produced. There's a show more button there. You can click on that and it'll give you links to all of the different materials and the products. Also in the top right hand corner, if you scroll over it, there's a little I, which is information from us who created the video for you to make it easier for you to shop online with us. If you want to, you can also subscribe to this YouTube channel to get regular updates on techniques like these Titanic earrings, regular updates on new products that we carry, simple projects, as well as really what's going on in the beading world. You can also stay connected with me at PotomacBeads.com. Check out our website there and order from me online, as well as join us on Instagram and follow us on Facebook, as well as become a member of our Facebook group. Our Facebook group is really growing. It's an awesome collection of people and individuals just like yourself that love to make jewelry, love to design, and love to show off, have fun, and offer advice too for people that are new or have color questions or want to know where to get things, all of that. So check that out and ask to become a member there as well. As always, everyone, thank you so much for watching and have fun completing your fun Titanic earrings. Thanks so much and have a great time creating.